Hey everyone, thank you for coming back to Growth Rising or coming to Growth Rising. I'm Bird, and lately I've been talking about retrogrades, the planets. We've done Mercury, Venus, Mars, and today we're going to be doing Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion and seeking and all of this big stuff. And so, first, we're going to talk about Jupiter going retrograde in your natal chart. Well, Jupiter being retrograde in your natal chart, and Jupiter. Then we're going to just talk about Jupiter going retrograde just for the collective. And so, Jupiter goes retrograde, I think, every 9 months, and it'll stay in retrograde for about 4 months. So, first, if you look in your natal chart and you see that little R by Jupiter or RX, your Jupiter is in retrograde. And I actually know one person who definitely has Jupiter retrograde. I think it might be two, possibly, but I know for a fact it's one. So I can definitely see it in this person's life, how it's been playing out. But with Jupiter retrograde in your natal chart, you may experience more obstacles whenever you are, trying to find understanding or have positive experiences, because it's just a little bit more difficult for you. And some of your talents and skills and even some of your positive abilities will not be as noticeable until later in life. So it could still always be there, but you won't really perfect. Oh, I don't want to say perfect because, but you won't really experience, having those until later in life. Higher education can also be delayed. So let's say if your Jupiter is in retrograde and all of your friends are like, okay, now we're graduating high school, we're going to go to college. And you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on that. And you might not go to college until you're like 30 or 35 or whatever, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, it's kind of delayed. So that could be because Jupiter is retrograde in your natal chart. Oh yeah, and these people can also self-analyze a lot because they're always trying to figure out how they can make themselves better. And it's not like they hate themselves or they think that they're terrible people. No, it's just more like, how can I make me better? What can I do to work on me? Stuff like that. And it can also help with them with their spiritual growth, because they can have like these higher spiritual ideas that a lot of people might not really think about, or they'll be the person to introduce that to somebody else. Oh, and Jupiter retrograde in the natal chart can also be a cause of procrastination, which I'm definitely not saying that's the only reason why people ever procrastinate, because we all know a lot of people do. I'm guilty, but it can definitely be something with the people who have Jupiter retrograde, because it's like they'll plan and then they'll be like, okay, I got everything I need. And they'll be like, nope, I need to replan. Okay, I got everything. Then it'll be replan. And to the point, they just don't do whatever they were planning to do in the first place. And so that just kind of pushed everything back. And if you have Jupiter in retrograde, you can also have a lot of inner growth, because of course it's forced inward. And so you can have a lot of growth inwardly. And it could be, dealing with your spiritual views or your own philosophical views, which is Jupiter all just has Jupiter written all over it. So just make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I think that's everything for that I have right now for if Jupiter is retrograde in your natal chart, the little circle. And we actually have Jupiter going retrograde this year, but when Jupiter does go retrograde, we'll be forced to look inward. And so everyone can start to feel, inner growth and, see things in a new light. Because, sometimes you have to step away from a situation before you can actually see see it differently, because you might be thinking it's terrible, it's a lot worse than what it really is. And in all actuality, you could just be overreacting. Sometimes we do it. I mean, that's just life. Sometimes we do overreact, and that's okay. Sometimes. um, oh yeah, you might also realize some of your missed blessings and also some of your greater potentials. So you could just be thinking, you know what, I could have did this right here better. I could have handled this situation better. Or you could start to realize potential in yourself that you never really realized before. And it's like Jupiter forcing you to look inward to yourself to see, hey, you know what? I can actually do this. I actually have that potential. And now I'm going to nurture it in whatever kind of way. Oh, and see situations differently and see a greater outcome. So, like, if you have been going through something and you're thinking, this right is the most worst, terriblest thing that I could ever experience. Well, it's not necessarily that, because once Jupiter goes into retrograde and you're forced to look inwardly and see things in a different light, you can start to realize, hey, this is not as bad as what I thought it was. I really actually think that I'm going to like this better than what I already had. Like, I don't know, like you have to get a new car or something. And you're like, oh my goodness, I had this car for, I don't know, 10 years. 10 years. And like now I got to get another one because it finally messed up. It tore up on me, yada, yada, yada. Like you're all mad. And then you realize, like, you know what? I actually have the money to go out and get a new car now. And then you can get a new car and be like, you know what? I actually do appreciate this car. This new car, it does X, Y, and Z, is all of this great and amazing things. It's just doing all of this great stuff. Probably even help you save on gas. So, you can start to see things with a better outcome than what you did before, because Jupiter is like, hey, you got what you need. You got the resources to get whatever it is that you need. And Jupiter also forces us to look in to realize that whatever we seek, we already have it. Just like, with the car situation, like, hey, you already have, the money. You already have, like, let's say if you had a car that's, I don't know, like that was made in the 90s, and like you have that personality of, I don't know, a 2023 car, 2024, I don't know. But, you just, like, you deserve to treat yourself. You have that in you already. So that's some of the stuff that Jupiter retrograde that's some of the ways that Jupiter retrograde can affect all of us. And also do keep in mind that any planet goes retrograde, we can all feel it differently. I might feel it one way and you could feel it another way. It won't necessarily look the exact same for all of us. But this year, Jupiter is going retrograde at the end of the year from September 4th to December 31st. Jupiter is going to be going retrograde, which is something because it's right before the new calendar year, or the calendar new year. So everybody is going to be like, new year, new me. And it could possibly be new year, new them, because they could have been doing some inner growth and now they're at a different stage of their life from wherever they were in like August or July. So, yeah, Jupiter is going to be going retrograde just within a couple of months. But yeah, and also the Astro database has 27.78 percent of the charts that had Jupiter going retrograde, which Jupiter will stay in retrograde for about 4 months. And like I was saying, I think it goes in retrograde like every 9 months. So every 9 months is starting like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go retrograde for 4 months, and then it goes back direct for 9 months. But yeah, so let me know if you have Jupiter retrograde in your natal chart, or how do you expect to handle this Jupiter retrograde that we're experiencing this year. But thank you for joining me and have a good day. Bye.